Hello, this is Bob Hale with MLB Expansion Facebook group. I'm here with my co-admin, Marcus Turner, and today our guest from Sacramento, California, are Mr. Barry Broome, who is the CEO and president of the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. And Brianna is also here too in the room. She's the associate director of communications. So I just wanted to introduce both of them, and good evening. Barry, how are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for having us and allowing us to tell our baseball story, on behalf of Sacramento.
Absolutely. Now, on May 28th, you presided over a press conference that was very impressive in Sacramento, or was that in West Sacramento?
Well, West Sacramento, but it's the urban core separated by the river. So one side of the river is West Sacramento, one side of the river is Sacramento, and both mayors are collaborating on the project. So the stadium will be on the West Sacramento side, facing the river, looking at our downtown.
Okay, and I saw some renderings with the bridges in the background, but it looks like at Sutter Health Field, they're in right field. And then at the new ballpark, the renderings, the bridges are in left field.
Yeah, so it'll be on the other side. So basically, look, if you're looking, one of the stadium advantages we have is, that's an MLB approved stadium, 13, 14, 15,000 square feet. The Athletics are playing in it for 3 years. And so, it's got Major League Baseball facilities and locker room and training facilities. And so that is a MLB approved stadium. It will become where the parking is. And on the other side of the stadium, more directly facing the river in the downtown, will be the face of the new ballpark stadium that we hope to build when Major League Baseball awards us an expansion.
Yeah, well, you got a big hurdle there, getting the land and the real estate. And I know the chairman of the Sacramento Pitch campaign, he is the guy that has the land, right?
Yeah, he's also the chairman of the board of the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, and that's Mark Friedman.
Mark Friedman.
Yeah, so the great thing about having Mark Friedman chair this, he has all the real estate is under one holding, right? It's not like you got to go assemble a bunch of stuff. So the real estate is completely available for the ownership group. It's called the Bridge District. And West Sacramento has committed a $1 billion tax increment financing subsidy to help offset the cost of the stadium and the development. I don't know if you're familiar with California, but they're literally one of only 2 cities in California that can do that. And that subsidy for the stadium can occur under the signature of the city manager. So there's no ballot initiatives. We don't even have a public vote because we built it into the development of the overall project. And then Mark, who is our chair, also built Golden One. So if you know about our beloved Sacramento Kings, I grew up a Cleveland Browns fan. So I always say when I became a Kings fan, I made a lateral move. I'll let you figure that one out. I know. Like I watched the Summer League like it's the most exciting thing in the world. I wouldn't watch FIFA if the Summer League was on. So, so being a lifelong Browns fan, I know the emotional attachment to a team. And so Mark built Golden One. So he has, and it is consistently rated the #1 NBA stadium. So our board chair owns the land, and he's going to offer that in exchange for equity. So there won't be a cash exchange. The AAA baseball team is owned by Vivek Ranadive. The Kings are on our board. That's preconditioned. So we have $500 million in cash from 2 tribes, Auburn tribes and Shingle
Springs.
I saw that. Yeah, which is a good number. And then we have $1 billion subsidy. And we have $300 million in in-kind, and it's all one owner. So it's a turnkey situation, overseeing the water in the most significant U.S. market with only one major sports team, and that's our NBA team.
Right. In the media rankings, I think you're in the top 20.
Yeah, and if you include Oakland, part of the challenge for us, Oakland's 60 miles away. So, California doesn't organize itself like other U.S. markets. I mean, I drive down to Berkeley and have dinner with someone 60 miles away. So Oakland is 60 miles away. Berkeley is 60 miles away. So if you really consider those two markets, it's really a top 10 US market. And all we have is the Kings. And throughout Northern California now, our spring Major League Sports franchise, all we have is the Giants. So if you figured Silicon Valley from San Jose to San Francisco, the mega region, which is what they call us, Sacramento to San Francisco, one spring sports team called the Giants, the TV, the corporate sponsorship, the fan base, I think MLB has a prime opportunity to re-engage the California market as we lost the Athletics to Las Vegas, and really do a lot for the overall league as they go in with their new CBA and try to determine how they're going to restructure their revenue.
Well, I was telling Brianna, we have some members of our group, and we've been growing, who can remember when California had 0 Major League Baseball teams. But throughout most of our lives, there have been 5 there. When the Oakland Athletics depart California in 2028, they will be somewhat of a void in Northern California. So I think the timing may be good. Because there's, as our friend in Portland said, that's, nothing between San Francisco and Seattle, and that's a lot of geography there.
Yeah. And the nice thing about where we're at is we offer a turnkey stadium deal. So we have our labor partnerships in line. So there's no conflict for the new owner. We have $800 million in equity, $500 million of it cash, and we have $1 billion for the stadium. And we can build that up. But one of the reasons we did that and did the announcement is, reputations take a long time to change. So a lot of people don't know Sacramento's now one of the top 5 U.S. markets for the semiconductor industry. We have 9 major semiconductor companies doing their research here. We're one of the top science communities in America. Brookings Institute came out and rated us in the top 5 in entrepreneurship. We went from 15 million under management to about $1 billion under management and about 14 billion in equity for our emerging enterprise models. So, we're really starting to become the what's next town, right? So I always say there's always a what's next. Austin, great town, a little built out, now impacted. People are struggling with that. Portland had a nice run going. People are struggling in Portland. Nashville's had this incredible run, but you kind of keep your city right-sized for it to be sustainable long-term. And the nice thing about Sacramento, rents are manageable. You can buy a home here. We're 72 miles from Silicon Valley, the greatest economy in the world. So you can nearshore that relationship. And here in Sacramento, there'll be remarkable support for this team.
Now, I saw that one of the members of the executive group is Kevin McClatchy.
Yeah.
Who used to be the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates and who actually was given credit for building PNC Park, which is, I think most experts agree, that's the #1 most beautiful ballpark in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. One of the things that we're elite at in Sacramento area is urban redevelopment. So I assure you this, we'll set a new standard for the ballparks in Major League Baseball. When we built Golden One for the NBA, it's consistently rated the #1 NBA arena in the league. So, we're very good at building. As I said, my board chair who's leading this built Golden One Stadium. Now we're talking about building this. So we've got a bona fide pro leader that's built a world-class NBA facility, and it's a preferred location. There's $1 billion in public subsidy on the table, $800 million in equity. And we did that because every time someone wrote a story about Major League Baseball, when they would talk about Sacramento, it was like, wah, 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 wah. I'm like, hey, that's getting under my skin. So I went to Mark and I said, hey, if we're going to go after Major League Baseball, we can't have every story written about us be that the Athletics are here temporarily and Sacramento's a long shot and a dark horse and all that. So after we were able to put that together, the story of our town is more clear. And of course, we have 2 major groups, talking to us about coming in. And our real secret advantage is people were saying it wasn't an advantage. We don't have a lead owner, right? And so people say, what are you going to do? Because Portland's got a lead owner and Salt Lake's got a lead owner and these guys have lead owners. I said, well, those are great towns, but there's a lot of really prominent people out there in the world that like to own a Major League Baseball team. And if you are a high net worth, high powered person with wealth and team leaders behind you, like let's just say you own the Los Angeles Clippers, we're your guy, because we had an open slot for the leadership. So what we did is we built everything out but the lead person. The stadium deal's turnkey. The equity's been determined, right? The exchange between the land and the AAA team is equity, not cash. And, we're ready for a lead owner to come in to allow that lead ownership group to slide their hand in the glove. And so that allows us to talk to, these big private equity groups that own Premier League teams, or maybe you're Jimmy Haslam and you own the Browns and you own MLS and you got a slice of Milwaukee. Well, Jimmy, come to Sacramento, man. I'm a Browns fan. I'll hook you up with an MLB bid. So, we're looking at our market position is overwhelmingly the best market position just based upon size. Our stadium's turnkey. We've got $800 million on the table. And any elite leader that wants to come in and lead a team, we're the only people in the West that needs that leadership group. So that could allow us to really differentiate ourselves, if we were able to get, the Clippers ownership group or the Warriors ownership group. But, it takes a while for credibility to be built. And as a community, we've come a long way, but we're still building our credibility.
Well, one baseball insider said on a podcast not too long ago that the last thing you need is a billionaire. You get everything else. And I can tell you, I used to work for an owner of a Major League Baseball team, and the president got him at a party. They said, how about that guy in the corner? And that was Mr. Jacobs of the Orioles after Edward Bennett Williams passed away. They literally ran into him at a party.
Yeah.
So I think there's 900 billionaires out there, and they have the ability to be mobile, move around the country. You've moved around the country. Mm-hmm. So I think if you get everything in place, that's probably not that hard of a piece of the puzzle to get.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've put ourselves into so we have a network of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs that want to lead it. So we've met with them. We have a major East Coast group that has a couple of major franchises that are coming in to meet with us. So the goal for us, and we're going to continue to try to improve our deal. So a lot of things that we're being told by the league, like I've got some people who are willing to step up for the naming rights, and the league's telling us, well, you may not want to do that. Sometimes these owners have companies they own and they want to bring in their own naming rights. So, to any ownership group out there, we can make this $1.8 billion package more aggressive if necessary, but we're waiting for the lead ownership group. And what we're hoping to be able to do is do something no one else can do for MLB. We're going to be the best TV market, right, on the table. That's just lucky. Our market size is better than the West Coast competitors. We know Nashville's special, but what the league is saying is there'll be one on the East and one on the West. So, we tip our cap to Nashville. They've done amazing things in the last 20 years. But if there's one in the East and one in the West, we're the big boys in the West with $1.8 billion on the table. And if we get a lead player that sets the standard for MLB, that's what we're looking for. And we can increase our local markets investment capacity into this. But we wanted to get in deep enough to where $1.8 billion's not to sneeze at. The stadium deal's turnkey. And now, like, I think Sports Illustrated did a story and said we're one of the top 5 markets that should get one.
I saw that. Yeah. I saw that.
And that was the goal. The goal was to not have people write the 2004 narrative about Sacramento, and to write the 2025 narrative, which is, we're one of the top markets in the U.S. We're outperforming a lot of major markets by name. We're the top performing market in California, and we only have one Major League sports team. There's none in Oakland, and then on the spring level, there's just the Giants. So if you look at San Jose, that's MLS. So you could count that in it, but there's an MLS team in San Jose. There is a Major League Baseball team in San Francisco. You're talking about San Jose, San Francisco to Sacramento talking about the largest, most dynamic economy in the entire world, I would think MLB wants a piece of this. And what we're hoping is that, if you look at the NFL, which is the gold standard, right? Where's the NFL get their revenue? Television.
Television, right.
And you're looking at the biggest chunk of change on the West Sac and West Sac and Sacramento. We have the biggest potential revenue base for the league. So if the league restructures with this CBA and they go to pursue the larger valuation through the revenue side, they're going to have to achieve that through media. And we're the biggest media market in the West. And we're the biggest media market in the United States with only one major sports team. We're also, if we get MLB, we'll be the biggest media market in the United States with only 2 sports teams. So it's, we think it's a real opportunity. And, we just love baseball. We have a great, rich history of baseball in Sacramento, going
back to the gold rush.
Yeah, 175 years of baseball. And, Derek Lee is helping us. Dusty's helping us. Larry Boa's from our community. We've got 40 well-known major league players. So one of the things we're doing now is doing little 3-minute, vignettes on all these great players like Derek Lee and Dusty and, Aaron Judge, was born in Sacramento and grew up about 20 miles from here. So there's a great history here, a great TV market, and there'll be a groundswell of support that will be magnificent for the league, and we hope to convince them of that.
I think I remember a stat years ago with where do most of the Major League Baseball players come from, and it was the state of California, more than any other state in the country. But I was going to ask you about the NBA Sacramento Kings. From what I see, they're selling out 98% of their games.
Yeah, so a lot of people think we aren't going to be able to compete head to head with some of these, promising communities in the West, like Salt Lake, which is a really cool town. I love Salt Lake, but we're twice the size of Salt Lake, and when it comes to media markets, size matters. But when we were working to keep the Kings, and the same leader of MLB, Mark Friedman, was a leader in keeping the Kings. We competed with Seattle. Well, Seattle is dominant over Sacramento. But one of the things that worked with us is we had like 16 years of sellouts, and you wouldn't even go to the playoffs. And so, that shows how dedicated we are to our sports teams. It also shows how untapped our entertainment market is. So this is going to be a real gem in the MLB network to have a team in Sacramento, and we'll more than carry ourselves, and we will elevate the league. We will elevate the league. That's how much we have to offer.
Marcus, any questions for Barry?
Hi, Barry. I just wanted to mention, I think it was back in the 80s, maybe, around the Arco Arena site. You guys had big plans then to build a nice, big Major League type of stadium. And then it kind of just fell through, and you look at the pictures now and it's become pretty much a lake. So I know that Sacramento has a long baseball history. In fact, I was telling Brianna before we got started that my cousin actually played his minor league baseball in Sacramento. So I'm familiar with Sutter Health Park and the area. I think it's a phenomenal area. And you make a lot of great points with media market and TV markets and things like that. And I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way. Very kind of comparable city to Sacramento somewhat because close in population. We only had hurricanes here, state capitals, things like that. So I kind of look at Sacramento as being that city that could make a play for Major League Baseball. I think you guys have the capability of doing this. And I commend you for getting your foot in the door, so to speak, with the May 29th press conference, which I was very impressed with.
Thank you. Appreciate the compliment. Yeah, one of the things, so we have a lot of turbulence in we're an economic development organization. So, one of the things that we like to say in the Sacramento region is everybody sees themselves in our economy. We work hard with communities of color. We empower single moms and our workforce programs. We've become a major player in chips and memory technology and in AI. We're a science community. But if you look at the most common mistake that's being made right now, with all this frustration with people at the top having all the money and people at the bottom not having much, part of what has to happen is people have to see everybody. And what we're hoping is, Major League Baseball will see everybody. It's easy to, plow into super dynamic towns that have a lot going for them. And I understand the opportunity about that. But if you look at the NFL, they're in Green Bay, right? They're in Cleveland. And of course, Major League Baseball is in Cleveland, which is a town that I love. I spent most of my life in Cleveland. But, one of the things MLB could be doing to verify the value of the brand. I was just watching a news program where, the Trailblazers are talking about pulling out of Portland. And the Trailblazers need $600 million to renovate a stadium. And the argument is, why do we give rich people $600 million? Well, you do not want the Trailblazers to pull out of Portland. If you were Portland, it will be a dark day for you, and it will stay dark for a very long time. But the thing that's missing is, that we can't articulate to people why there's value in that beyond some wealthy guy owning a team. Major League Baseball picks Sacramento, and we're going to earn it. But there's going to be a lot of great towns competing for this. They're going to change our reputation in the country. This town will be known as two towns: before Major League Baseball came and after Major League Baseball came. And if I were the commissioner of Major League Baseball, I would want my sports assets to be clear validations that when they are in a community, they're transformative. Because, to have Sacramento put $1 billion and public subsidy on the table, do you know what that's good for? That's good for the Dodgers. That's good for Anaheim, right? That's good for San Francisco. That's good for all these other sports teams that they're, instead of, going, why are we helping a wealthy man or woman or a wealthy group with this? We went out and put that $1 billion on the table plus the $800 million. And now what we're doing in our community is going, look, we're so close to being the community we want to be. We need to get more eyes on us, and we need to clearly show a before and after moment as a community, because people aren't paying attention to the fact that, we're landing fab plants like Bosch or AI, memory companies like Solidigm. That doesn't make it all over the world. But if we get this Major League Baseball team, everyone's going to look at the Sacramento area differently. And Major League Baseball can now tell everybody, hey, this was an emerging market that had a lot going for it, was trying to get to a very special place to change the economy for everybody. And we sent a team there, honored them with the aggressive proposal that they've made. And now they're the town everybody's talking about, where you can live and play and work and raise a family. So MLB has a chance to change our lives forever. And if I were MLB, I'd want to have a trophy that shows that when we're in a community, we change that community's life forever for the better. And that's what Major League Baseball will do for us.
Well said. Well, if there's nothing else, I think we'll wrap it up. This is Bob Hale and Marcus Turner with MLB Expansion, and we were very pleased to meet with Mr. Barry Broome of the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. Thank you, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.